Hello everybody. Today we'll be studying the first chapter of CBSE Class 12th Psychology book, Variations in Psychological Attributes. So I have divided this chapter into a lot of different parts so that it's easier for you to learn as well as remember. Please note that for any difficult topics, I have given the adequate mnemonics as well to remember it very easily. So we'll start with part 1, which is individual differences in human functioning. So the chapter starts on a note of variability. It talks about how variability is a fact of nature. It talks about how everything is unique. So we have butterflies, we have snakes. These two are very different from each other in terms. Butterfly is an insect, snake is an animal. Then we talk about humans. Snakes and humans are also very different, although some humans can turn out to be snakes too, but that is besides the point here. Even amongst human beings, all of us are very different from each other in terms of our physical characteristics, in terms of our psychological characteristics. So let's take the example of twins. So even though they might physically look the same, they are completely different in terms of their personality and cognitive abilities. So all these differences amongst people, amongst animals, brings us to the topic of individual differences. So what is individual differences? It states that there is distinctiveness and variations among people's characteristics and behavior patterns. So what does it refer to? Distinctiveness. What does distinctiveness mean? It means that, let's say we take the example of two people. For example, I am a very angry person, you might be a very calm person. So we are distinct. There is distinctiveness. I am angry and you are calm. Then what do we mean by variation? Variation means that, let's say both of us are angry individuals, but I may have a bit more anger than you do. So we vary across a scale. Anger, let's say we take the anger scale. I'm just giving an example. I don't think there's an anger scale, or even if there is, I don't think it's named that. So I might be very high, you might be near the closer end, I might be near the higher end, right? So now that we've understood that there are individual differences, so why do these differences exist? So psychologists have given two explanations for these differences. So one group of psychologists say that these differences are because of personal traits. So whatever inherent characteristics you have, those affect your behavior in any situation. So let's take the example of a girl, Anu. So let's assume that Anu is a very petty girl. So if somebody is inherently petty, they'll act that way most of the time, right? But what if she is put in a situation that does not allow her to be petty? Let's say she wants to make a very close friend. So if she keeps acting petty with her, I don't think they'll be able to get close, right? So that is how we come up to the case of situationism. So what does situationism say? It states that the situations and the circumstance that one is put in, it influences one's behavior. But for some, even the situation doesn't matter. If they are petty, they'll act petty all the time. Again, that is besides the point here. Please note that the things that I've written in red are just for fun, just for understanding. So for example, let's take another example. If there is a guy who's generally very angry, very grumpy all the time, he might become very submissive in front of his boss, right? This is the example which is given in the book, and this is very important, and it is very important that you remember all the examples that are given in the book. Those are safe examples. So why does he become submissive? Because if he behaves like he usually does, all angry and grumpy, he might get fired, and then he will not be able to pay his bills because he will no longer make a living. So what does situationism say? The main focus of situationism is it views human behavior more as a result of the influence of external factors rather than a person's personal traits. So this brings us to the end of part 1.